The phones, answering a phone.
Yes.
That was a big learning.
I can't believe I didn't even think of that one first.
Yes.
That was up there with learning the whole system is answering the phones.
Right. So, but here's the thing. What I learned, I now know you did not know how to answer a telephone.
Yes.
And I created like a cheat sheet of like exactly what to say. And we use that for like every intern, every new hire. And really within like 2 weeks of teaching you literally how to say, good morning, law offices of Melissa Rosenblum, or good afternoon, law offices of Melissa Rosenblum. How can I help you? Which is what's on the sheet of paper, right? Because I learned that you didn't know how to answer a phone, and it now I understand. You never needed to learn how to answer a phone.
No.
And so whoever I hire now, who interns, who's under a certain age, which is really at this point anyone under like 35, right? I know that I have to teach them how to answer the phone. And I would never have known that until I hired you. And I'm not a yeller. I feel like I can teach. I'm a good teacher. I've taught at Rowan University. I've taught at law school. So I sometimes have to remind myself what I have to teach. But I think it's funny or cute because when I grew up, my parents would teach me, you pick up the phone. This is the Rosenblum residence. How can I help you? And then I had to write messages down. And I had to literally hand paper messages to an adult.
Yeah.
Did you have to do any of that?
No, I did have house phones growing up, but I never had to write messages for my parents.
Did you answer the house phones? Because there was maybe an answering machine that you could just let it go
We
to.
did have an answering machine. I would only pick it up if I knew who it was, like if it was like my friends or my family members.
Because you had caller ID.
Yes.
There was once a time, Jessica, where the phones existed, where there was no caller ID.
I know.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. And so what's funny about that is everyone since I've hired you, I have now been of the mindset that I have to teach how to answer the phone. And, our summer law intern, who I am going to embarrass as well, also does not know how to answer the phone, who is my own child at 20 years old.
He has said he's nervous to answer the phone.
That is like the hardest part of the job right now. I mean, he's watching videos on homicide cases and attempted murder cases, and the hardest part of the job is answering the phone. And I think for you, that might have been one of the hardest things too.
I think, so part of it was I didn't know how to properly answer the phone, and the second part of it was I didn't understand what the people on the other end were asking, because it was like a foreign language to me at the time. So they would be asking me questions about like a violation of probation, and I would have no idea. I would have no idea what they were talking about.
Right. And now you're like, okay, so the person was on probation and didn't follow the rules.
Yes. And then there were also people, when I first started working for you, I knew you did criminal defense, obviously, but I didn't know if you did other types of law as well. So people would call for like real estate matters or divorce and stuff like that. And I didn't know if you handled that stuff. So I was just like, I have no idea.
You'd be like, please hold. Please hold.
Yes.
Please hold. So our administrative assistant, who's new and part-time, who's going to start full-time in the fall after the summer, Conchetta, who's also awesome. Yay, Conchetta. And there was one thing about her resume that I was like, oh, she's going to be able to know how to answer phones. And she can answer the phone, but she's still learning what you're saying.
What they're asking.
The asking and the follow-up questions.
Definitely.
So I knew she could answer the phones because she worked at her father's pizza shop in LBI near Surf City. I wish I knew the pizza shop because I would give it a shout out. So I was like, oh, well, she can answer the phone because she knows how to say, how can I take your order? And she's great at that, but she still has the learning curve of, hold on, please hold.
Yeah.
Please hold. Yeah.
And there's still certain things that I have to do that for because they're just not familiar to me and I don't know the answer.
Correct. Which is amazing because we're, so focused on certain areas of law. Yeah. And that's what I say to Jared, too, when he says, I'm so nervous or I don't know how to answer the question. I'm like, it's an internship. That's what you're learning. That's what you're learning. So, and I say, like, it's about experience. You'll go to a different law firm potentially, and you're going to have to ask different questions. We're very, I always say we have our lane of traffic,